Recording in progress.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second annual virtual EMCON 2021. But this is the 11th EMCON, courtesy of the East Middle Public Library. This is your host, Mark Torres of It Came From the Radio. I will be moderating an awesome Q&A panel with two legendary voice actresses, Cissy Jones.
Hello.
And Krizia Bajos.
Krizia Bajos. Yes. Hi. Nice to be here.
So as I mentioned, this is going to be on our YouTube page. We are streaming live. If you guys have any questions, make sure you type your questions in the chat, but we'll just go right into it. So Krizia, my question is for you. You mentioned you like the behind the scenes and how you got to get there. So how did you get to where you are right now? And then we'll ask the same question.
Yeah. Well, I've been an on-camera actress since I was 15 years old. So I've always been in the acting space, that environment, you know. But funny enough, when GPSs started to get into cars, you know, we had the Garmin that we would put on top.
Yes.
But then the cars got fancy and then GPSs got in. I might be dating myself, but it is what it is. So they started to get into the car and I went crazy over the voice. Like really, I just went crazy. And then my friends would come in and I'd show off Natasha. That was my car's name, Natasha. And I would show her off and I would do the voice. I'm like the voice we heard earlier right now. Please make a right turn on Riverside Drive. Make a left in 200 feet. And I loved doing that. And so my friend's like, you're really good at it. I'm like, yeah, but what do I do with that? I didn't know what to do with that. I just thought, you know, it was a fun thing to do. But enough people kind of told me that. And I'm the kind of person who will always, I'm very curious. And so I jump into a lot of classes. I'm a big class fan. So I jumped into classes right away. And I was like, what is this voiceover world? And it just... I mean, you know, once you kind of just take a little peek in that door, you're like, what is this world? And I was flabbergasted and didn't realize how much of this world is made up of voiceover. So it was fascinating to me. I got hooked. I was able to do that and still do my on-camera stuff, but I really fell in love with voice acting. In fact, it's definitely taken over more of my life now than anything else that I work on. And I still study. I have my own school now, so I teach, but I still get taught and coach. And that's how I got my start. But I fell in love hard, very hard.
Wow. Now, Cissy, I know you got inspired by Nancy Cartwright, if I'm mistaken, right?
Well, The Simpsons in general, yeah. So I have not been acting since I was 15. I actually went to school in Oregon, and I have a degree in business and Spanish. And I worked in the Silicon Valley for 10 years in startup land and venture capital world, and super hated my life. I met some really amazing people. I learned some incredible things, but I was really deeply miserable. And I went on a trip with my now husband and we were talking about dream jobs. And I said, gosh, you know, I just think it would be great to be a voice on The Simpsons. It sounds like so much fun. But I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know it was called voiceover. I didn't know how, I knew nothing. Like, I'm from Idaho. We don't have stuff like that in Idaho. You know what I mean? And about 2 weeks after that conversation, I was getting ready for work in the morning, one soul-crushing morning, and Nancy Cartwright was on the radio talking about voiceover and how it was this amazing job. And, oh, by the way, you guys in the San Francisco Bay Area, you're so lucky you have one of the best voiceover schools right here in your own backyard. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And so I called the school that day and I started taking classes that week. And 2 years later, I managed to get an agent and leave my golden handcuff job. And here we are.
So would you ladies say that the universe played a hand being at the right place at the right time to have yourselves in the voice acting world?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think luck is preparation and timing, right? So it was the timing that I was ready for something new and taking the time to educate myself on what that was going to be. So yes.
Oh. Yeah, I agree. I think it's, yeah, sure, there's a hand. We get nudges, we get hints, but it's up to us also to follow it. There's been some things, and that's what I try to tell my students too. It's like, okay, if you have a hankering, if you have an interest, if you have a curiosity, follow it. It might not be what you want, And this is just one of the things that hit. But I have been curious about a lot of different things, and this was just something that, yes, it was presented, it was nudged, but then I also went after it. I was like, okay, I hear you up there. All right, let's go try it. Let's go see what's up with this. So I think it's a mix, like Cissy said too. It's also it's not as easy as just discovering it. There is a lot of hard work that goes on behind it, and a lot of there's a lot of drive to be here, I would say. So yeah, I think it's a nice, wonderful mix of that. I guess we're part of the universe anyway. So yeah, it had a hand. We have hands. We go for it. And yeah.
Jumping on what you were saying, Krizia, one of the things about voice acting, people always tend to forget the acting part. Can you stress how important the acting part is in voice acting?
Incredibly important. It's in the title. It's in the job description, even something as simple as a commercial that people think, well, I'm just saying it. Absolutely not. There is somebody that you're talking to. There's an emotion that you have. There's a feeling. In fact, the biggest thing about voiceover and the biggest challenge about voiceover, I would say, is we only have this. And like Cissy's showing you, she's in her booth, right? We don't have the luxury of getting on set with a face full of makeup and hair and the costume and the props. We don't. So our imagination needs to be on fire. What did you say, Cissy?
And the scene partner.
And the scene partner, that's the biggest thing of all. Sometimes we might be kind of lucky, as Cissy and I were for Vanishing Grace, and we're able to kind of talk to somebody. But even then, in front of you, looking at somebody's eyes, we don't have that luxury. So this has to, our imagination and acting plays a huge part in it, because as an actor, you're playing pretend, you're playing in this world of imagination. So we have to have that on hyperdrive for voice acting. So yes, acting, in fact, the most successful people in this field are phenomenal actors, phenomenal storytellers. It's not about a pretty voice. There are a lot of people out there that have beautiful voices. Conversely, there's a lot of people that don't have great, conventionally great voices, and they work like crazy because they're phenomenal actors. It's all about the acting and your storytelling and what you bring to it. It's about what's in here, not just these guys.
And it's interesting, if you listen to audiobooks or even games or anything that is very voiceover heavy, you can tell when somebody just starts phoning it in because you tune out, right? I've noticed myself listen to a lot of audiobooks, and when people are just reading and they're not actually putting any acting into it, I tune out and I lose the last 5 minutes or whatever of the book that's been happening. So it is the most important aspect of what we do. And 100%. Like Krizia said, everybody has a voice, everybody can talk, everybody can read, hopefully, and it just matters what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we have a question from the chat. We have Sabrina says, hi, Cissy and Krizia. This is my question. When a character from a specific country is going to be given a voice, do companies look for a voice actor who is originally from that country, or can it be anyone? I'm from Mexico. I really admire you both.
Hola, Sabrina, ¿cómo estás? I'm Cuban, so Spanish was my first language, and we live in a time right now where that is way more commonplace than it was. In fact, being Cuban from Miami, Spanish was my first language. Like I mentioned, I also had an accent. So it wasn't cool when I started this 11 years ago, even 15 years ago when I came out to LA, to have an accent. It's good if you can put it on, but not if you have it naturally. Not the case anymore, which is so beautiful and so wonderful. So now I actually get asked to bring back the accent that I tried so hard to get rid of. So I actually do a lot of work in my accents. But yes, Sabrina, with your question, there are a lot more companies right now and studios doing their due diligence and finding people from the specific countries, or at least, Latin, you know what I mean? Like they're not going to hire an Anglo person to do something that's not innately, Hispanic or Latin. So in that regard, and the same, it becomes even more specific with a lot of my Asian friends. Like if you're Japanese role, Chinese, Korean, everything. So they do look for people, and that's why the world has become a lot bigger now in voiceover. Also more competitive, but it's become a lot bigger. You can be part of databases. They're looking for people all over the world that are great voice actors that are authentically from where they're trying to create these characters from.
And even more so, I would say, adding one step onto that, it's no longer just Latin actors being submitted for Latin characters, right? Like you, Krizia, you've booked a couple of characters that are not Latin, right? Which is, white characters, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's again, I have friends who are Black or friends who are Asian, and 5 years ago that was not the case. They were only submitted for Black characters. They were
True.
only submitted for Asian characters, and now people have really opened the doors to a lot more opportunity, which is incredible.
100%.
Well, speaking of opening the door, this is a great opportunity to talk about What the Vox. I know you guys are working on that company, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Cissy?
So, What the Vox is a collection of 6 women in the industry. It's the two of us, Jennifer Hale, who is FemShep from Mass Effect and a zillion other things, Courtney Taylor, who is Jack from Mass Effect and a zillion other things, Carolina Ravassa, who is Sombra from Overwatch, and Anjali Bhamani, who I forget her character's name in Overwatch. But basically, the 6 of us we got tired of people always asking. You always see people pitting women against each other, and we're tired of it. We love each other. We support each other. One of the things I love most about the voiceover community is the absolute support and camaraderie amongst all of us. And so we decided, why not join forces and, do something for good? So we are putting together, a conversation of the 6 of us on a monthly basis to just talk about what's happening in this industry and what are things that we do that make a difference for us, and how can we help other people around us. We don't need to be islands. We can all work together. There's no law against it, and we're all so much better for it. And so it was kind of born of that, if that makes sense.
It does, really. It is a competition. It is a job. You guys are going against each other sometimes for the same job. But I have found that as years have gone by, a lot of voice actors that we've done Q&A panels for are always like, oh, I'm not right for this role, but I have somebody in mind who is right for this role, because it's becoming more of a community where everybody's working together. Everybody wants to help each other out, as opposed to, I want all the roles for myself.
So yes, Mark, I would like to speak on this because Cissy was this person for me. But before I get into that story, I just want to mention something. It's not really a competition. I think it's really depending on your perspective on it. And the people that I surround myself with, we do not see this as a competition. Why? There are so many roles out there. There is so much out there. There's so much abundance. And to me, I'm going to give you a little bit about what I talk about, but like, this is the Krizia store. So I know what I have in the Krizia store is great. I'm very proud of the things that I put into my store, right? So if somebody's coming around, they're going around auditions, they go to Cissy's store, they go to my store, they go to Courtney's, they're going to find the one that fits the character. So it's not that I did a better job than someone, somebody else did a better. Yes, of course, there is a level of like, okay, this tier, but there's a lot of great people in this tier. So at that point, it's not about competition. It's about who fits this best. Is that coming from my computer, by the way?
I am hearing some the sound.
Is it a fan?
Let me see. I'm gonna mute myself. See if it's okay. It's not me.
Can you mute myself?
Yeah, it's you, babe.
Oh, it is you.
That's weird.
Oh, and it's gone now.
That's so
That
weird.
was so weird. Anyway, sorry about that. I have no idea. I have no fan or anything. I have no idea. So I was saying, so I don't agree that it is a competition, at least at this level, because everybody is actually fantastic, and it has to do with who fits the story and the character and the other people that were cast. I direct a video game right now, and there were people that were really great that were like just edging out, but it's like, okay, but we have somebody that's very similar, so we have to differentiate this voice from this voice. We want to make sure that these relationships work, and this is the essence that works with this. So I talk, for me, it's just about what fits and if they wanted to buy from your store that day. And on the other side of that, yes, it is very supportive. I've had Cissy hit me up, I don't know how many times. Krizia, I pitched you for this project. I'll get hit up. Hey, no audition needed. She sent me your stuff, your reel, your website, and boom, I get the job. The same with her. You know what I mean? Like, and what I've done to other people, we absolutely do that. If we know something, we know the developers, we know the people that are behind it, or we even audition for something. I have somebody that's going to be just fitting this so beautifully. Please let me pitch them, et cetera, et cetera. So absolutely it is. And this is why I'm also addicted to this community and this job, because it feels like that. It's not just fluff. It really is true. Cissy is exactly the wonderful person that you see here in front of you, because she has helped me in so many ways. But there are a lot of people like that in this space. The What the Vox ladies, all like that. It's amazing, and it's a wonderful, beautiful thing.
I think it's very important because, as you said, not every role is for every person, and there is tons of opportunities out there. And I think personally that if you're more of a kind person in that way, it gives you more opportunities. Because like, oh well, she wasn't right for that, but I like this idea, and she was very nice about that. I'm gonna go reach out to her again, see which I can give to her.
Yeah, I mean, it also just makes life more fun. Like, I don't, I don't want to be a grumpy, Gus. Like, I want to share the love. Like, I want my friends to succeed as much as I want to succeed, as much as I want my kids to, you know what I mean? Like, there's enough to go around. There's enough to go around, and that's the bottom line for me.
So speaking of enough to go around, besides anime, video games, what other type of voice acting opportunities are out there? I mean, give us a little slither of what, and people do not necessarily would think that, oh, that's a job for us.
Oh my gosh. So I do an intro voiceover class where I go over these insane amount of avenues, and that doesn't even cover everything. But it's everything from your top usuals, your commercials, your video games, your anime, your dubbing, your animation, and then you've got like announcements. You've got loop groups. That's another crazy thing too. Like, when you guys see a TV show, and maybe Cissy and I are on the show, and you're watching us do a restaurant scene where we're talking to each other. All those people in the background, all that background noise that you hear, that's not happening at the time that the scene is being recorded. That happens later, post-production, where a group of loop group actors get together and they fill in the space of all your favorite movies and TV shows and all the background stuff. There is so much out there. There's promo anytime you're on a network and they talk about whatever whatever show is coming up next. Like I do Nick Jr. So coming up next on Paw Patrol, et cetera, et cetera. Cissy, I'm sure you want to jump in and add more.
Trailers. I mean, movie trailers is a big thing that we need more women in, that it's getting kind of sort of there, but not yet. Audiobooks, audio tours, internal narration, phone trees, GPS, like Krizia was saying at the beginning of this. I mean, the more you stop and listen to a disembodied, like listening for a disembodied voice, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And that's what makes this so fun, is that every single day is completely different than the day before.
100%. It's so funny to see that's what I love too. I've never been a 9 to 5 girl. And I've always loved to have one day different than the next. I mean, it also, it creates a lot of instability and you never know what's coming up, but hey, I like to live life on the edge. And so every single thing we have the same agent. He's a wonderful agent and he gives us all sorts of different kinds of jobs. So yeah, exactly. I'm actually reading one of my first audiobooks that I haven't done in a very long time with a Cuban author. And yeah, so I'm doing that. I do promos like we mentioned earlier, commercials, TV, dubbing. Just it's insane. It's insane all the different things that you're able to do. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
Do you guys have that ear now that you're walking along like, oh, that was a job? Oh, that was a job. Is that something that's now ingrained in your minds?
I used to, and now I'm like, now it just, it just kind of goes. Like I have learned that my superpower, I have two superpowers in life. Number one is connecting people. That's like my favorite thing in the world. But number two is forgetting jobs and forgetting on. So like I will walk into an audition and they'll be like, oh, or to a job, and they're like, we loved your audition. And I'm like, because I don't remember. Because otherwise you just go crazy.
Yes, I agree. No, it's funny. It gets to that place where like you know nothing and you're like, and then you're thrusted into this world of voiceover, like, oh, look at all the voiceover all around you. And then you get back to a point where like, oh, well, it's regular life. It is trippy though when you do hear, I do like my friends' voices when I hear them on stuff. I'm just like, oh my God, there's Stephanie Kervis, there's Cissy Jones, there's this. So it is kind of fun to hear people pop up when you least expect it. My friend Giancarlo Sabagal has this Corona ad that doesn't stop. I keep texting him like, oh my goodness, your bank account must be so happy right now. So yeah, it is fun to hear your friends kind of pop up in unexpected places.
All right, so let's say you mentioned that getting an agent. So what step is that in the role of being a voice actress?
I mean, it's kind of so if you want, okay. Anybody who wants to be a voice actor, number one, go to Krizia's school, voiceover camp, or go to iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. It has all the steps laid out. You got to take classes. You got to get good. You got to get comfortable behind a microphone. It's really weird to start hearing your voice back. Like reading a script and hearing it back takes a while to get used to, and then picking it apart and learning how to self-direct, blah, 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 blah. So once you are comfortable as an actor, then you get your demos, right? Demos are usually 60 to 90-second clips of, you'll have one demo of commercial options, you'll have one demo of character options. If you want to see what demos sound and look like, you can go to my website at cissyjones.com. It's right on the front page. I have a couple of different things there. And then usually you will submit your demos to an agent. And if they need that particular hole that you fill, if they don't have somebody that already fills that niche, you might get signed. And then the work begins. Like everyone, I can't tell you how many times people have been like, oh, I got an agent, the hard part's over. And I'm like, no, the work just started. Now you audition. Now you have to keep sharp. Now you have to like keep your agent knowing that you are there, you are worth their time. You know, not that our agent isn't like a you're worth my time kind of guy, but just you have to stay on top of trends. You have to know what's working. You have to know what's booking. You have to refresh your demos every couple of years. I mean, it's a lot of work. And then hopefully you start booking, right? And then once you start booking, you got to keep it going. Like there is no sit back and go, whew, I made it. It's a constant hustle, which is good and bad.
So, what training do you guys have, or what's the word? What processes do you guys have in your voice acting warm-ups before you decide to start doing any work?
Well, I have been working with Mindy Pack, who does the voice straw, which is a straw phonation kit that helps you warm up your vocal cords and also reset them after a particularly stressful session or during a stressful session. So warm-ups are imperative. Like Krizia said, like I make my entire living off of this portion of my body. So if something gets screwed up here, I'm SOL, right? So taking care of your instrument, knowing how to do that is really important. And then just acting. Krizia's classes that she's been doing at the voiceover camp are really special and really unique in the sense that she starts from the foundation and helps people understand where your career can go once you have the solid base. There are a lot of snake oil salesmen out there who want to tell you, come do my class and in 3 days you'll have a demo. And I am here to tell you they are stealing your money and going straight to the bank. Please do not do that.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. That everybody has their own journey, and some people are going to be ready sooner than others, and there's nothing wrong with that. I took particularly longer. Why? I had a mental block. Whereas my talent, I was ready to do it and I had the goods, but I was in my own way. So sometimes we just need to even learn that, just to get out of your own way. And that's when you work with great mentors and, voiceover coaches that will help guide you and tell you, hey, you're really good. You've got this, but like, you're not having enough confidence. You're not believing in what you're saying. So we want to see that. So once you start to get to that, the demo needs to be at your pace, at your timing, and nothing else. I would also add to that, thank you so much for shouting out voiceover camp, but anywhere you go, just do your research. There's a lot of people that do teach voiceover and they've never even done voiceover, or they don't even work with people who are doing any voiceover. So just be careful out there, because there is a lot of that. But going back to warm-ups, yes, that's important. Another big thing, I know it's like the most basic thing, but water. Just water. I drink like 3 of these 32-ounce bottles, and it is like, I'm not a drinker. I know it's not very exciting. I don't smoke, but because again, this is our.
I'm trapped every night. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
But counteract it. Drink a ton, as Sissy's doing right now. Yeah, everybody's drinking up. But water is important. Yeah. It's like your daily. This is your water reminder, y'all. But yeah, warm-ups are really good. Also, be mindful about where you're at with warm-ups, and even in jobs. Like if I see that something's particularly stressful and I just can't, if I do a little bit more, sometimes we want to aim to please, but as she mentioned, because we use this so much, we use it more than the average person. We do vocal gymnastics and things that people don't do. People don't scream and yell grenade, or even do the animation stuff that we do. That's like lot of switching gears and a lot of coming in and out. So we're a vocal athlete. So we have to keep it warm, we have to keep it lubricated. We have to keep it, pumped up and used in a very healthy manner. So I think we just have to be mindful of that and make sure that we can advocate for ourselves when we're even at the jobs, and make sure that sometimes, especially if we're not part of the union, some directors might not know what they're doing, and even in sometimes, but they might not be mindful about where your limits are. So you have to be very cautious about that and make sure that you're not doing anything to do some permanent damage.
Well, speaking of limits, when you decide to do a quote unquote special voice or a unique voice or as a character, do you have to put it in your mind that, oh, I can only do this for so long, so I might not want to use that particular voice, or should I tone it down? Or do you, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bearing in mind that a typical session for animation or video game is 4 hours. 4 hours. So if you're doing an audition for 30 seconds and the voice bothers your throat, don't do it. Don't do it, because you will burn out in a 4-hour session and you won't get called back and you will hurt yourself. So yes, that is one of the most important things ever to talk about. I have a friend who, when I was taking classes, we had a competition, kind of like an American Idol style competition, and he went for broke on a military commander, and he blew a vocal cord. He could not speak for 6 months and can never do voiceover again. So
Oh,
please,
that breaks
for the
my
love of
heart.
all that is holy, take care of your instrument, because no one else will.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And something else that she said, interestingly enough, I know people think voiceover, I got to do all these wacky voices. No. And I'm going to go ahead and speak for Sissy, but Sissy and myself do a bulk of our work as our own voice. So that's even more important to know, to get that acting muscle really strong, because it is usually where we live. Yes, there you've got some amazing people that could do some crazy ranges, but we do really well just with our normal voice, and maybe slight variations of pitch, or for me, tiny accents here and there, or you do accents too, but my Latin accents I think about. But you know what I mean, like slight pitches or changes. But it's all mostly about attitude and how you inhabit the character. But really, it's a lot of it is just our own natural voice. So yeah, definitely don't do something that you cannot continue, because it is not worth it.
All right, so we have a question in the chat from Kelly. It says, if you had the opportunity for an ongoing gig to voice a Marvel and DC character for a contract of 2 seasons, which character would that be and why? 2 seasons, who would be the character you would like to do?
Marvel and DC, like both?
Yeah, so one Marvel character, one DC character. I don't think that's what the question is.
I mean,
I'm gonna break out of that, and I'm gonna say, listen, those are both great, and everybody that's doing those characters are amazing. I want Jane Bond.
ooh.
I mean, I wouldn't turn down Wonder Woman or Black Widow, but I'm just saying, like,
That's pretty good. I would love to see more Latinas in that space and voice my own original. I'll just say that from the top. But I will say this. I feel like my voice, I mean, I would love to do some Black Widow action, for sure. But I know, come on. But also DC, I am working on some DC stuff, and I've had this character for a while, and I really do love Renee Montoya. I'm a Renee Montoya fan, and yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. So yeah, I like my Montoya.
Can you tell us the differences between being an on-camera actress, doing a voiceover for a video game, and doing a voiceover for an anime? Because I know those are 3 different things.
Yeah. You want me to go? So sorry, you said animation, anime, and
Anime in person, and video games.
So on camera.
in person. Oh, on camera.
Oh, sorry. Yes, on camera.
That's okay. No, that's why I'm like, wait, what? Because I'm like, we used to do in-person animation stuff, but I know what you mean. Did you ask what is the difference, or what do I prefer?
What is the difference?
The difference. Okay, great. So on camera is quite simply, the most basic answer is you see everything else, you see the whole kit and caboodle, which also limits you, because I can only do something that looks like me, but voiceover, you've got such a wide range and be able to play. The difference with animation and video games, and let me just say something too, animation to anime are kind of animation, umbrella, anime, and then prelay. So for example, I do Margarita from the Casa Grandes. So and I've got my little wall of people, and so I get the script, I read the script, the animators then animate to my performance, so I do not have to box myself in with lip flaps or timing. So I add a lot, and that's the beautiful thing about animation too. Like, yes, the script is there, but I add a lot of stuff of my own in it. I collaborate with the script and the writer and the director and everything. So then the animators really do draw and animate to what my performance is. Anime, it's already been done by somebody with from another country with another language. So usually, you know, Japanese cartoons, it's already been done by incredible Japanese actors, and then we will dub it. So what that means is we have to now the animators and everybody is done. We have to try to fit into the timing, like translate it, you know, into something that makes sense, but also fits within the time constraints and also matches as best as we can the lip flaps. So those are the big differences. I hope that was good. I'm sure Sissy has more to add.
Yeah, basically that. And then video game is it's just a different
Oh, yeah.
of, you know, it's not animated already, so we typically have a little more play. However, there is still a time constraint because you have to let player know what their objective is.
Also, if you did not do the mocap, like for example, this year, and I can talk about it because it's already out there, and I guess they're fine with putting it on IMDb before it goes out. But Gotham Knights from DC, playing Renee Montoya. Um, I was supposed to go to Canada like 8 times this in 2020 and do mocap and do the whole thing. Actually, it's called performance capture, PCAP, because it's everything. It's my voice, my face, my body, everything. But we couldn't do that. So they had Canadian actors, obviously, to try to continue the game going, do all the mocap. So they were just the body and they did the lines, but now there's a certain timing and there's actually some lip flapping that I have to do for the characters. So I kind of got a little boxed in, which I don't like it. I'm a Sagittarius and I don't like anybody to put me in any cages or boxed in. Let me ride free like the horse that I am. But so I do have to, it's interesting because it doesn't normally happen with video games, but it does every so often. We'll be like, all right, so she does this at this. I have to kind of allude to this, or I have to really get it within this timing, or her mouth is really obvious for this part. So I have to kind of stretch out this word, even though I wouldn't have done that, but it is what it is. You know, you gotta make it work. And that's all those, you know, balls that we got to juggle, and different ways that we have to challenge ourselves on how to provide this voiceover in various different ways.
Yeah.
So the performance capturing, you wear the suit. What does that feel like? Or have you gotten the opportunity to wear the suit?
It's real tight.
Go to the bathroom before you put on the suit.
Oh my God. Yeah, so it depends too if you have to wear like the helmet with the antlers that come around with the cameras and the lights that turn on. Because if you do have to do that, then they put a battery pack on your back, and then they flip it on so that the lights can turn on and capture your facial capture stuff. In which case, it's real hard to pee.
Oh, true.
It's a very interesting day.
Even if you don't have the head mounted camera though, because when you put the suit on, you have it and you look like you're gonna, you know, scuba Steve, right? You're gonna go out scuba diving. But then they put all the markers, and the markers have to be very specific on your body. So they have to make sure everything lines back up. So even if you put the suit back on, there might be some adjustments, and they want to make sure, okay, we got to make sure that it's on this, or, you know, this joint, or, you know, wherever the case may be. So yeah, that is so much fun. I love it. You know, it's the closest thing to theater because you do have to memorize your lines. That's the only time in voiceover where you memorize your lines. You do get to have scene partners. Your imagination still needs to be on fire because you're in a warehouse that has nothing. And all of a sudden, you know, this pen is my knife and I'm going to stab you with it. And so
your phone is made of apple crates. Deal with it.
everything, your mission control. So you really have to like have all of that, but it is a lot of fun. I love doing it. It's a lot of work. It's hard. It's longer days. But it is so much fun. And then you get to like play with your friends and actually like, you know, it's almost like I remember when I was a kid and my parents would, you know, there would be like refrigerator cartons and cardboard boxes, you know, thrown around in the neighborhood. Oh, we would like, are you kidding me? That was, so I feel like I'm just playing in a huge refrigerator cardboard box. Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
It is really fun.
So we have another question from the chat. It's from Sabrina. She says, when in an animated show, characters from the same family are voiced like siblings. Do companies say those characters have a similar voice?
No, it mostly comes down to acting. You know, so if it's a 16-year-old sister and a 12-year-old brother and an 8-year, like, you know, they'll find somebody that suits the acting that they want to sound like the 16-year-old and the 12-year-old and the 8-year-old. It's funny. I had somebody reach out to me about twins. They have twin sons who are interested in getting in acting, and if voiceover was interested in twins the way that on camera is, and it's not the same, because it's not the same because twins sound different, and so in an animated world, and so it's
How old are those twins?
11.
They'd be perfect for the kids' summer camp coming up in July that we've got.
I sent it to them. I think they're
Yep.
starting up.
Ooh, exciting, exciting. Yeah, we're teaching kiddos and I'm really excited about that. Get back to Sabrina's question. Yeah, no, it's all about like the performance. I echo what Sissy said. Sometimes they actually hire kids. If there's a phenomenal, I don't do. I've done a couple of kids, but they're like really raspy sounding kiddos. It's about as much as I can do.
Don't screw your voice up.
I know. I did a light version. I'm not gonna do that again.
But no,
But
like, for example, like there's a show that I'm working on right now called The Owl House, and I play a sister to another witch named Edelyn. I play Lilith. Technically, I'm older. My younger sister is played by Wendy Malick, who is maybe 15 years older than I am. So it's completely, it doesn't matter. Like apparently I sound old. So there's
but really with Wendy Malick, I'm surprised.
yeah, no, she did. I mean, she worked in BoJack Horseman and
But that she sounds younger than you?
well, it's just attitude.
It's
It's
attitude. You have such an attitude with Lilith.
Yeah.
One of the things about acting is the chemistry between you and your co-stars. When you're doing voice acting, most of the time you're by yourself. How do you get that chemistry when you're on your own and by yourself?
We're at the hands of a merciful director.
Yeah. Yeah, directing, and you also have to, have that go back to imagination. Really, it's just when I look at my script and I'm reading off the script, I do look at the eyes of the person I'm looking at on the script. I look at their face. Their face is on there. And I do it, or their face. I really do. My brain is just, I could be in my box, my booth. And if I'm like, what's that over there? I can see it. I can see it. And that's the thing. If I believe it, you're going to believe it. So if I see it, you're going to see it. So you have to really, in fact, it actually ties into the next question you have. For good auditions or bad reads, it's like, do I not believe you? Do I not see it? Do I not? And so that's the going back to acting and how important that is where am I? Color the world around you. Where am I? What am I doing? What am I wearing? Is it cold? Is it hot? That's going to affect how I talk. Did I just come from running? Did I just get up from bed? What's going on? So the more that I can, the stuff that's not written for me to say, how can I fill up all that space and showcase what is going on? Because if I can fill up that space for you, the reader, going back to audiobooks too, like Sissy mentioned, same thing for me. I can tell when they're just reading. And we can all just read, but are they building that world? Are they showing you what's going on around you? That's what transports the reader, the listener, into that story and your character. So yeah, how can we make it as believable as possible?
Yeah. Also, hi, Liz. It's nice to see you here. I would also say, like, think about how you speak normally. I mean, if I am talking to someone and I say, "Hey, how are you doing? Hey, what are you doing next weekend? Did you want to go get the ice cream?"
But now read it like a script, like if you were just reading it.
You're not going to be like, "Hey, how are you doing? What are you doing next weekend? Do you want to go get the ice cream?" Like punctuation is less important. It's more making it sound natural, like you're talking to a friend and you can look into their eyes and say, "Hello, friend." I think that's really what sets people apart, because it's a lot trickier than it sounds.
It is.
So we have a question from the chat. It's from Liziel. It says, "Are there any glaring mistakes that can turn a good read into a bad read, and how do you avoid those?"
I think that's what we were just talking about a little bit, with the making it sound as naturalistic as possible and building the world around you before you even open your mouth. I do some coaching a little bit on the side, and the number one thing that we always go into is drilling into the details. If you're saying, "Hey, how are you?" Who are you talking to? Is it someone that you are excited to see? Or is it someone that's like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" Or is it someone that you just bumped into on the street? "Oh, hey, how are you?" It building all of that in your head before you even open your face matters. It matters because if I hear it, if I'm having fun, if I know where I am, you're going to hear it. You're going to have fun. You're going to know where I am. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
I do have a question about this question. I'm not sure how we could turn a good read into a bad read. I think if it's good, I would say I'm going to turn it into something else and see if this is helpful. Um, let's say you book the job, you can psych yourself out of it. If you're not easy to work with, it could turn into a bad experience and they won't. If you're not able to be malleable with a director, and now that I'm directing video games, I find it very curious why some people are so opposed to my job. Uh, not everybody, but sometimes it'll be like, you want to direct yourself when you're in the session. Like, no, that's not your job when you book it.
Yeah.
I tell a lot of my students, you only have one head to wear one hat. What do I mean by that? When you're acting, only wear the acting hat. When you're directing, you only wear the directing hat. When you're engineering, you only wear the engineering hat. You can't be doing all of this stuff. So when I'm directing, I'm not an actor. I'm just here to serve the story. And how could I best get these performances out of actors? When I'm an actor, I don't do the director's job. I just listen to what they tell me, absorb it, see what it does to me, and give them back hopefully something that they're excited about. And so I think that's a good way to turn something good into not so good if you're not great at the job. And that happens. There's a lot of talented people that are not easy to work with, and then they slowly, that reputation comes around town, and less people want to work with them, and then you're out of work.
Yeah.
So you mentioned engineers. Let's get to the technical side of stuff. What do you need? Because I mean, you have to have your own personal studio right now, even though you don't go into the office as much. What kind of equipment or stuff would you need to have just for basics to start your voice acting career?
If
It's
I can
so
preface this,
easy. Go.
it's easy, but if I can preface this, because I've seen this happen a lot. People think I'm going to get into voiceover and they buy all the bells and whistles, and that it's all going to be glorified paperweights for everybody that's starting out. You do not need anything
Yeah.
when you're starting out, because the most important thing you need is training. I want to put that first and foremost. Also, don't go buying expensive stuff when you're not ready. There's always time to upgrade. There's always time to get the cool stuff, right? The booth or the whatever, the nice mic or the interface. You don't need that. You can start simply with a USB mic to start off, because there's so much to learn before you need to invest that kind of money that it's not worth it. So let me just preface it with that. But I know Sissy wanted to talk about some equipment.
No, what she said is 1,000% correct. And then once you have the training, you don't need much to do voiceover from home. You need a good microphone. I have a shotgun mic. It's called a Sennheiser 416,
Gold
um,
standard.
which is gold standard. You need if you have this particular mic and others like it, you'll need an interface, which is called a preamp, which looks like this.
Awesome.
There are several. There's some that are $100. There are some that are thousands. It just, it depends on your budget. And then you need a quiet place to record. A computer, obviously. But I used to work out of my closet. If you have clothing behind you and something in front of you so that you're not speaking into a blank wall, that's it.
I'm also going to say this. I'm like the cautionary tales.
Do it.
You can have these if you especially have these, because I have a TLM 103 as well as this 416 like she has. Like the Neumanns and stuff, they're great mics, amazing mics, super sensitive. Will sound like crap if your room isn't treated.
Yep.
So again, I say it's better to get some of these cheaper microphones. Don't go crazy, because if you don't have this space, like I have a Studio Bricks booth, so it's like just like Sissy has. We have an isolated booth that's in our home. If you don't have that, 416 is very forgiving. I use that mic when I travel. Because it does good with all the craziness that happens in a hotel room. But those mics, some of them, the good ones, are so sensitive that if you do not have a super, super, super quiet space, and some closets are not going to cut it for these heavier mics. So don't go nuts. Don't be spending the money.
Lawn person comes and starts leaf blowing around, then you're just done.
You're out of luck. Funny enough, I'm in 3 hours. I'm actually doing a class all about this, with like how to do the room. I'm actually going to be teaching Sissy's travel. She taught me this awesome thing with like your suitcase, that when you're traveling, I was like, Sissy, you're a genius. When you travel, I'm also nuts, and when I travel, I have to unpack everything as soon as I get there. So it actually works to my favor, because when I'm doing voiceover, I have an empty suitcase. You stuff both sides with pillows that, you get way too many pillows when you're at hotel rooms anyway, or wherever you're staying. And then you put a comforter, blanket over you, and then you do your mic like in your little yurt that you've got there.
Oh,
So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff to learn about. A lot of great things. Scarlett is a really easy interface. Scarlett Focusrite from Focusrite is a good one. The AT2020 is a great starter mic. It has USB and XLR if you want to get there. So the difference is USB mics plug right into your computer. No need for USB. Great starter. You don't need it. When you start booking and you need some heavier stuff, then you get an XLR mic. And that means it's got like the three prongs at the end of the mic, and then that has to go into an interface that then goes into your computer. So it's like mic, interface, computer. I knew nothing about any of this before the pandemic started. Nothing. I was spoiled. I went to my agents every freaking day. I live in LA, so I went to every studio. I drove, like, people are like, oh, the driving. I'm like, oh, I'm used to it. I listen to podcasts, I listen to audiobooks, but I drove all the time, every day, going to different studios. When the pandemic hit, my agent put the fear of God in me. He's like, you're not going to work if you don't have a booth. I was like, gulp. And so I had to get a studio bricks, and I had to learn all this stuff that I never thought. I'm telling you, I mean, I'm kind of savvy with some tech stuff, but not this engineering stuff. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to learn any of this. I thought that for a million years until it happened. I was like, Krizia, you have no choice. You have to learn about this. And so I did. I took courses, free workshops. A lot of great engineers gave up their time, or I bought time from them, and they taught me mic placement, how to do it all. But you want to consult a professional. If you're not tech savvy, find engineers that do this for a living. Let them guide you. They could treat your space. They could treat your room,
So for a demo, what kind of equipment do you need? It's just like a handheld microphone, little voice thing, and just
no.
Okay.
No. Can I preface this one more time?
All right.
Please do not make a demo until you're absolutely ready. And there are people that are in your life that will tell you that you're ready. Do not. That is another big mistake that I see. Oh, voiceover. I'm just going to buy a mic from Amazon and make a demo on GarageBand. Please don't do that.
They never go away. And that will be the first thing anybody sees when they Google you. Don't do it.
Don't do it. It is worth waiting. You want to know what you're doing before you even step foot into demo land, right? And then once that happens, you want to consult a professional that does this for a living. There is a particular way to do a demo, like Cissy said. For commercials, no more than a minute. Shouldn't be more than a minute. Sometimes I get people sending me stuff, it's 3 minutes long. I'm like, I could tell you don't know what you're doing. So if you want to get an agent that's worth their salt, they are looking for an industry standard, and that means the production quality has to be great, your talent has got to be there, and your copy has to sound good. So that's usually a professional does that.
So there are people who are demo producers.
Yes.
Who typically, once you've been studying for long enough and you're at a place like Krizia said, where people in your life who you trust tell you that you're ready for a demo, they can usually refer you to a demo producer. They will then help you collect the right scripts. They will set up a place for you to come record. If you have to record from home, then it better be a professional quality setup. And then they will guide you through the process. It's not cheap. A good LA quality demo is around $2,500.
That's on the high end, I have to say, like 18 to $2,500, but it can get up to
charging $4,000.
I was just going to say,
which is insane.
I would not pay more than $2,500.
No.
$4,000 is insane for it. But mine, just to give you a little heads up, when I first did mine, I waited, I trained, I did 1.5 years of training before I was told, okay, now you're ready. I did my demo. I got an incredible agent that I'm still with today. It lasted me for 10 years. So at that time, $1,500 that I spent 10 years ago, which was a lot for me. I had many different jobs to try to make that work, lasted me a decade. Yeah. And got me a ton of work and got me an incredible agent. And only recently did I actually update it with stuff that I actually worked on. Because you make up the stuff that you have on your demo usually.
The good thing about a great demo producer is they will make you sound your best. Now, the caveat with that is, if that is not something you can achieve at any time, and you cannot replicate the quality of your demo, and somebody hires you based on your demo, which does happen, and you come in and you're unable to match that quality, you will not work with that person again. And 80% of what we do is return business or repeat business, right? So you need to make sure you're ready. You need to make sure you go with someone who knows what they're doing. And you need to make sure that it's something you can replicate out in the wild.
And just a little added layer to that, if I may. Not only is it like, oh, you can't replicate it at the job, when you're submitting to agents, every single agent is not going to just sign you off your demo. They're going to get a meeting with you and be like, great demo, Sabrina. Love your demo. All right, now here's a couple pieces of copy and some scripts that I want you to read. So that's why it's important, like Cissy said, that you are ready to back it up, because you can have this beautiful, shiny demo, but if you can't back up that demo and you go to read for the agent's going to be like, wait, that doesn't sound like the demo, and then you just wasted everybody's time and they're not going to give you a second chance. So you want to be careful about that. That's why demos are very, very important.
All right, so we are almost out of time. So we're going to end this with some final thoughts. So Krizia, do you have any final thoughts out there? Any words of wisdom? I mean, you've given us so much information right now, the both of you. I really appreciate the insight that you've provided with us. But do you have any final thoughts for us?
Final thoughts, with the basic, be good to each other. The golden rule, do unto others as you have them do unto you. And I hope that you treat yourself well too, for that to actually make sense. But I also like to say, funny enough, working in video games now, life is kind of like a video game, right? There's always another level. There's always something else to deal with, achieve, a challenge, etc. It's like, if you look at it as something like, all right, I can bust through this level, right? And get to the next one. You get boss level is like, all right, bye. But like, look at it like, sometimes there's a saying, se ahoga un vaso de agua. I have some friends that like, they'll have stuff happen and it's like, oh, that's the end of the world. And look, a lot of terrible things can happen. But if you kind of try to look at life as like, let's just power through to the next one and have fun while doing it. I like to have fun with everything that I do, and that hopefully colors a lot of things that I do in my life. So just have fun out there and be good to each other.
Cissy, final thoughts?
Exactly that. I mean, like, go forth in kindness, be good to each other. There's too many terrible things happening out there, and it's up to us to be the light. So be the light. Be the light to everybody around you that you can.
Yeah.
So my final thought is this. It was a pleasure meeting you ladies. You guys were amazing with your insights. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone who's listening to this or watching this on the YouTube page appreciates all the hard work you guys have. Social media, if people want to contact you, want to throw that out before we end the panel?
Sure. Everything can be found on my website, kriziabajos.com. I know my name's hard to spell. Here we go. KRIZIABAJOS. Krizia Bajos on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, because I got it way too old and it's weird now. Kritzer, KRITZER. I can't change it to my real name. Don't know why. Never let me. But that's pretty much all that there is. And Voiceover Camp. If you are interested in learning from me and the wonderful counselors, I have Cissy teaching video games there too. She's amazing. It's www.voiceover.camp.
Cissy, social media, any websites you want to promote? Now's your chance.
Yeah. My website's Cissy Jones. My Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is Cissy Speaks, because apparently when I got on the Twitters, there was already a Cissy Jones. Who knew? But yeah, come hang out. I like to chat. So hit me up.
All right, so that is it for our Q&A panel. I want to thank the fine folks at the East Meadow Public Library. They have tons of free programming every single day, so make sure you guys go check out to www.eastmeadow.info, support your local library, and make sure you guys can join for other events that come up. And also want to thank a special shout out to Kelly Gordon of the East Meadow Public Library for the EMCON 2021. And that is it. Oh, also want to mention my website, www.itcamefromradio.com. If you like what I did, make sure you guys check us out there. So everyone have a good one.
This was great. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Awesome.